dare you eat chowder in my front yard?
I'm going to Harvard Yard to park the car. I'm going to do the wash.
Definitely have got to cut all that out.
Well, it's part of the whole Boston thing. I used to live outside of Boston, I know. It's an easy accent to pick up. So we're talking about this because it's another edition of BeerAmerica.tv, and it's a beer from Boston, as a matter of fact. Harpoon, out of Boston. There you go, Harpoon. We like Harpoon. And I've not had their IPA before. I used to be a big fan of IPAs. I guess I could say I'm still a fan of IPAs.
Love them.
I think it depends on the hoppiness level for me, you know, for an IPA. If it's too hoppy or leaves that bitter aftertaste, I'm not a big fan. But I know Harpoon puts out some good beer, and I learned an interesting fact about IPAs. Should I put you on the spot, or do you know why they call IPAs India Pale Ales? On their website, they said that they're called IPAs because the beer needed to survive from the trip from England to India and unrefrigerated rail cars. And the alcohol and the hops help for natural preservation
Rail
of the
cars?
beer.
I assumed it was
We're talking a long time
shipping.
ago. Maybe shipping too. That's just what's on the Harpoon website.
Oh, well.
So I'm taking it for
I
fact.
won't
So if
argue
you've
that.
got more to add.
I always told the story that the ships had to go all the way around the continent of Africa.
But it's
and
still about the
crossing the
preservation of their-
equator two times and
climbing
blah, blah, blah.
uphill with a block of ice on your back and the whole deal.
But the bottom line is, yeah, that the clever brewers in England figured out that if it was going to survive that journey, it did a lot better job when it had a whole bunch more hops in it. The fresh hops added to, or just dried hops added to the barrels.
Right.
And also, they just kind of figured out that higher alcohol really helped the whole spoilage issue as well.
Well, there you go. So now we've got the Harpoon IPA. Now you know about IPAs, because I think it's a valid question. I mean, you asked for an IPA, but really, what does India Pale Ale mean in the grand scheme of things?
It is one of those things we start to take for granted after a while, but every now and then somebody here at the pub will be like, why is it called IPA?
It's brewed in India and shipped here, which is what we usually say.
Thankfully, that's not the case.
Well, here we go. I'm not getting a big hop off the nose.
Well, that is definitely the most forward character here.
Oh, it's there, but I mean, it's not there to the point where you go, whoa, you know, we talked about, I think my point of reference from here on out is when we did the 5-Season Brewing Company in Atlanta, and you can find the video on the On the Road site, when they had the Hopgasm.
Hopgasm was pretty
Hopgasm
crazy.
just was about to knock you over. So
juicy.
that's now the hop, you know, like you smell that. This is subtle to me, but it's there. I mean, it's prominent.
The overall, I would say this is a fairly approachable IPA because the biggest issue being that the bitterness is not overwhelming.
Right.
And IPAs don't have to be super bitter. I think the biggest characteristic is that they are very hoppy, very aromatic, and usually they tend to be on the approaching 7% range there. I'm not sure what is the ABV on this one.
It's 5.9.
ABV
Is 5.9.
Yeah,
and they've been brewing this since 1993, and I got to say that having just had 2 good sips of this, I think it's really well balanced. I'm not a big fan of the bitter. I like hoppy beers, but I don't like them overly hopped. I'm not a big fan of the overly hopped beers.
You should probably put some pants on when we're doing the
I
BeerAmerica.tv thing.
I know.
I mean,
I've transitioned. It's your fault. I've transitioned to a malt guy. That's the whole thing now, because now I'm finding, after being educated by Mr. Brewmaster over here to my right, that what I'm really tasting is what I'm really tasting, and so on and so forth. So, but I like hoppy beers. I mean, I'm a big fan of
bottom
hops.
line is we like what we like, and that's okay. Pants or not.
Harpoon.
To the folks at Harpoon,
yeah.
we're going to be up in Boston for the CBC,
and
Craft Brewers Conference. For those of you who don't
You'll
know the
be there
acronym.
for sure. Hopefully that BeerAmerica.tv will be there to report from the CBC.
We're going to make it
It's
happen.
up to you, Julia Hers, if you're watching these, and you say you do, to get me on the list.
Oh.
She's wonderful anyway. So the
Julie's
Brewers
awesome.
Association, Julia's awesome.
But
yes.
hopefully we can get together with the guys at Harpoon
Yep.
and shoot maybe we can get the tour on tape and
Sure.
sit down with the folks.
And interview a lot of the movers and shakers in the industry, and bring it to you, the viewer. So, Harpoon IPA. I got to go back to this. I think it's really well balanced. I think the color is really nice, and it's got a nice off the nose. You know, it's not threatening in any way to me. So,
Well, hoppy without being too scary. for the average beer drinker, and not too bitter. So
Right.
if this was going to be kind of like a go-to IPA, I think it's successful in that regard.
Sure. So if you have any beers, by the way, any brewers, and you want to send us some beers, please send them. We always love to talk about them. And if you have any questions or comments, it's paul@beeramerica.tv or
pink@beeramerica.tv.
and look us up on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, MySpace, AOL Video, Google Video. We're all there. We're kind of distributing throughout the web. iTunes as well. Yes, now we're podcasting. It's so new that I forgot. We're podcasting. So subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Fat Tuesday. Although you're seeing this much later.